What's your advice maybe to young people in Asia, how to deal with all of these developments?
Well, depends, right? My view is, at least the things I try to encourage people in Asia to look at is to look at the world more openly. The tragedy is our most elite are all subservient to Western ideas. This is because after 200-300 years of dominance, it's very difficult. This again, Westerners don't understand fully. I'm trying to write this and explore this. So where do we send our best kids? We send them to the West. Not to Germany or Switzerland, which could be quite good. We send them to the Flat Earth Society called Harvard, MIT, where they learn about supremacy and they pretend that they are liberal institutions. But it's essentially all their examples are points of reference to the West. That doesn't mean I'm suggesting that they're not great examples in those. You should learn from most. But imagine if you're a young and bright American, you don't go to China to learn. So imagine whole civilization, nations, who are all looking this way. In the Middle East, as much as the tensions are with the West, Islam, Christianity, all the elite Middle East people from Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they go to the United States. They all speak with American accents, but they wear Islamic garb just to kind of show that they are still ethnically who they are. This complete taking over of ideas is huge. It is not understood. Even our history is not understood. So, I just came back from Cambodia, Vietnam. What should young Asians do? First, understand their history. Because if you don't understand the past, you can't understand the current, and you cannot shape the future. So they don't. This is the tension. The international Western media is keen for you not to know the past, right? The keen not to know the past. So young Cambodians do not know what happened in Cambodia. That the Cambodia was dragged into the Vietnam War as a little experiment by the CIA with Laos and Cambodia. But in the Western media, Cambodia's tragic history is the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot. Khmer Rouge and the Pol Pot were an outcome of a tragic sequence of events engineered by the American CIA. This is not to excuse Pol Pot, who was genocidal. So first, understand history. Second, understand what does progress look like, and this is kind of what we try to do. And thirdly, to really understand that the 21st century will be so different that models created in the West are completely unsuited, and they have to look at what is going on in their own countries. So I think the young people in Asia, firstly, must understand history. Secondly, they must not be over-fascinated by these cheap discussions about technology. They need to understand what development means. They need to see the broader spectrum under which they will live in their countries. They need to be rescued from this idea that Starbucks, Amazon, and having cafe lattes in urban little corners in Asia is the future. That is not the future of the majority. They have to decide what pursuits they want to take. But they should also be very committed, in my view, to working to strengthen the institutions of their countries. And this is the hardest work we have to do in Asia. Build the institutions. Do not seek to undermine them. I say this all the time. Even if you don't like it, your contribution is to work towards it. Rather than take funding from the European Union or whatever CIA agency and then try and undermine this thing. No, work. And that requires hard work. That requires thinking. Protest is easy. Taking funding from Europeans and Americans is easy. And then go out on the streets and create a website. Policy, working hard, understanding the context of your country. But you have to be committed to your country. And the young elites in Asia, my view is their contribution must be to build their societies through institutions. And freedom and democracy rewritten, rights, they need to be part of their future. They should not ape the Western idea. They should take what's good from the West, But your societies will be very different in the 21st century. And that for me is the biggest challenge. Too many of our youth are seduced by the so-called American dream, which as we know is kind of bankrupt. They need to figure out what is their own dream within constraints. They don't know this. They don't know. They think everything is possible. It's not. That is a hard message to sell, but it's a hard message that becomes much clearer when you understand the constraints, if not respected by changing the way we think about prosperity, will essentially create catastrophe for everyone. When you then understand what the constraints look like, then you understand what a new society looks like, which is not utopian. You know, I'm not talking utopian, but at least one which manages the tensions of less. So what will India look like in 50 years with its democracy? Young Indians need to think about this. And there are many, but the mainstream media is about more, let's have smart cities in India. And I said in a piece in the Financial Times, India has smart people, it doesn't need smart cities. Hong Kong doesn't need smart city. Hong Kong needs a very smart idea. And the only important innovation for Hong Kong is how to allow young people to afford a roof over their head that doesn't cost $1 million US. That is innovation. Not another gadget, not another app. This is Hong Kong's biggest challenge. But we don't have to talk about innovation like this. Innovation around social progress, around social reform and political change. We want another app. Click, and here's your future.